Want to know how I can create an entire blog post in less than 60 seconds? Using this automation setup I'm going to show you, you can create high quality blog posts faster than you can microwave your socks. And the best part, once you've set up this automation workflow, you'll never have to write a blog post from scratch again. Stick around, I'm going to show you how I've automated the entire process using N8N, Claude AI and DeepSeek R1. So this is my personal blog. I've got these articles here and I've sort of switched over to talking about AI and automation, but I do have sort of a raft of blog posts, and I've been refining my writing style for a good few years now. So there's a great book called The Art of Business and Online Writing by Nicholas Cole. So Nicholas Cole, Dickie Bush, they're great resources. So paragraphs go in the structure of like 1, 1, 3, and what they mean by that, paragraph 1 is 1 sentence, paragraph 2 is 1 sentence, paragraph 3 is 3 sentences, and you can do the 1, 5, 1. So I've started writing in that style. So I want the AI to know about my writing style as well, and how I talk and how I speak, to try and make it more like me when it's drafting these blog posts. So then the amount of time I need to spend editing is, greatly reduced. So how do we do that? Well, inside N8N, it's sort of my favorite tool of choice because it's very similar to sort of make.com in its automation workflow capabilities, but also they've now got the AI agent concept in there. So if you're using something like Relevance AI, you still need make.com to stitch it up. Now with N8N, you've sort of got all this in one place, the automation workflows and the ability to then talk to AI agents inside one place. So you can see I've got quite a few of these blog post generators, but the one that I'm going to show you is the one that I've just showed for my personal blog, which is this blog post generator. So I won't go into each and every step. I'm assuming that you'll kind of know everything from it. You've got a good understanding of automation workflows and N8N. So I run my life out of Notion, and I have this content hub where I kind of store all my information. I have this blogs section where I've got to write and published. So the to write is how I manage it for each. So you can see I've got all these ideas for each project, and you can see for Basecamp, that one that's actually been processed overnight. That one's to draft, so that one needs to be run. And all I do is come up with a name of the topic, so that'll be the title. I then have a big idea and a target audience. If I'm using something from a competitor, I've seen something that I like and I want to sort of put my own spin on it, I can put in a competitor URL where it'll then sort of not only do some researching for me, but it'll also go and look at what they're doing. So you can put information in there, and then all I set it is to draft. So then it gets the blog post to create. So it's from the list to write, where it's fill H, and it's to draft. So that gets you all the information. And then this is where I start using sort of AI agents on a daisy to chain them all together. So my first protocol is this research and strategy agent, and I give it a bit of a memory. So the blog post planning, 20 context windows. So it knows that it's then what it's created in the past, how many blog posts it's created, and if it gets to 20, it's got a list of sort of the 20 ideas that it's come up with. I've plugged it into SERP API, which again, as I've mentioned, it'll then research topics, trends, ideas using Google related to sort of the big idea, the target audience, the title that you're giving it. And also then if you've got a competitor URL, it'll go and sort of search that competitor as well. So that gives you the research and strategy information. And what I'm doing is I am plugging 2 into Claude and the rest into DeepSeek R1. So why have I chosen them two? I think that they are the 2 best models. So for the research and strategy and the content creation, I use Anthropic, and I like 3.5 at the minute. I think it's the better one. Why I prefer these two over ChatGPT or OpenAI models, I I think they're very good at thinking through things a bit more, and they give you an explanation of how they've derived from this information. I'm also using OpenAI, which I'll go run through in a minute. The reason I'm using Anthropic, Claude for these two agents and not DeepSeek R1 through everything is I'm still early in the game with this, and I don't think people have caught up. So the team over at N8N haven't caught up being able to plug tools agents into sort of the DeepSeek yet. I think it doesn't work with tooling. There is ways around it, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole yet. I'd rather just go, well, if I can't use it for certain tools agents, I love Claude AI anyway, I'll start using that. So then that's the research and strategy using tools, uses Anthropic, Claude 3.5, content planning, and then have a content planning agent that will take the actual research and strategy information, decide on what it's actually going to talk about, and come up with a content plan for that. This time, this one uses DeepSeek R1. I use OpenRouter to connect to that, and it seems to be working extremely well. So the next port of call is actually the beefy content creation. Now this is pretty cool, is that it then looks at my previous blog post that we're talking about. I'm going to show you that in a second. But I've got this blog post content. Again, I like using 20. I don't know if it's too much, too little. That's just my choice. I give it a key. I've got this vector store, and then I use the Pinecone vector store to actually list. I have an index which just basically all my blog posts. I just use the OpenAI embeddings 3 small and the OpenAI chat to do that, which is 4.0 mini. So when I've got my Pinecone set up, the Pinecone index, I use these models to do the processing on that side. So I then want to carry this on inside N8N. So it does the content creation, use the blog post, uses the vector tool to pass to Claude AI to then do the content creation. So that is trying to look at what it's written historically, taking information from the content planning section, and then loading sort of, I think I pull through the last 25 blog posts. So then it's got context of what the writing style's been and sort of what it's going to be like moving forward. So it sounds more like me. I don't have to edit as heavily as I perhaps would. Because what I find sometimes with these AI tools is the paragraphs will be very condensed. And like I say, I like this writing style of 113, 115, 151. So it's sort of formatting, using bullet points, using different headings, using the heading structure I like straight away. So I don't have to worry too much about that. It's more about editing it and making sure it's at grade 5 reading level and things like that. What I'll quickly do is I'll just show you what I do to fill the vector store. So you've got context to that. Blog post to vector store. So what I've got is this other workflow that runs every night. It goes to my personal blog, and it's just a quick check to give me any post that's been published in the last 24 hours. I convert that to Markdown, so I prefer that just to cut down what it shows in the vector store. But again, it's then got the concept of the Markdown will still show like line breaks, paragraphs, and things like that. So it's got the context of how you're structuring the blog post, but it's not filling up the Pinecone with too much tags and things like that. So Markdown's just a little bit neater inside Pinecone. So I convert the HTML to Markdown, and then what I do is I just set this 3 JSON fields. So the ID, the title, which is rendered, so it's just the text, and then the Markdown that I've created. So then in the Pinecone data store, I'm inserting into the index, using again what I've said, the OpenAI embeddings, which is all set in Pinecone. And then what I do is the default data loader, the actual data itself, I do a type of JSON. The Markdown goes into the data, but I also save some additional metadata for later use, which is the ID. So you can lump all the blog posts together and get all the information from Pinecone for that by ID. And then you've got sort of what title it related to. So I've got that in Pinecone as well. And then what I do is I just do a chunk size 5,000 and then just an overlap of 200, sorry. So you kind of like chunking it down for Pinecone. I'm not going to go into how Pinecone works, but that's the way I do it. I use Pinecone in the vector store because I think it's very good, and I'm led to believe that AI agents and AI tools can read data so quickly from these vector stores, just makes the whole process quicker. So going back to the content agent, the content creation agent, it's got the tools, it's got the memory, it's got the vector store, and then I actually tell it all the information it needs, and then it creates the content. So what I do is I get Markdown again, so I just go Markdown to HTML, give me the output, the JSON, and then all I do is publish to my WordPress site. So I do it as a draft, so I don't want it to go live. And what I'm doing from there is from the content creation. Yeah, so I get the blog post to create. So I use a name from Notion. So for this one example, it would be building effective business content with AI. That'll get put into there. Then that might not end up being the title, which I'll explain in a second, but I put it in there so I've got a good reference. Then I have this JSON output, which is from the Markdown, which is from the content creation. So as soon as it's been created, we then put it as a draft in WordPress, so we've got the content no matter what. Next, this is where it gets crazy, and I do love this bit, is we've got this technical SEO bot. Again, it uses DeepSeek R1. It goes and does the technical SEO recommendations from the content, and because it's got context of all the content creation will have context from all these other things. It's very good at sort of creating a list of technical recommendations, making sure the structure of the headings are good, give you suggestions for the headings. So it's a really good way of then having a reference. So when you come in to edit it, you're editing the writing style yourself, but then you don't have to worry too much about the technical side of it, the structure of the headings. It's all done in the document. It's just a case of going, okay, so for this section, what does it recommend? Or you need to change it from, I don't know, AI agents to what is an AI agent in the headings. Content enhancement. So this one for me is where I actually look at or get suggestions for images. It's good at suggesting infographics, interactive quizzes. So the suggestions and the content enhancements are fantastic at giving you ideas for trying to make your blog post more interactive and to keep people on your blog post longer, which Google rewards in the long run. So that's the content enhancement. Quality assurance is then again just making sure that we've got a checklist. This is brilliant for a checklist to make sure that these two things are done as well. Whistle stop tour. I'm going to have a swig of coffee because my mouth's drying out. So what I then do is all these recommendations go into a folder on OneDrive. So I have the content enhancements, technical SEO, QA. Update to processed. All I do then is each blog post that I've done, it's not loading at the minute, but what that'll do is it'll get the ID of the Notion page, and all it'll do is it'll change that to processed, so I know I've got that. So we should have had a blog post generated overnight by one of the other agents. So one of the other agents has created this blog post. This is for my fishing brand Bait Camp, and if we go in, we should see this is the output it gives you. So it gives you the technical SEO, so you can see all this information, header structure, schema markup, linking strategy, the quality assurance, past screaming frog spider test. So it's telling you how to do all this content enhancements, all this information, QA. It's just look at the stuff that DeepSeek R1's giving you. Unbelievable. So what I do is I then take this document and my thought process, I'll explain my thought process in a minute. So when I have this published one, let's do it for Phil H again. Let me just see which is the best one. AI is a culture shift, not a tech one. What I do is I paste everything from the technical SEO into here. So I've got this that I've published it. It's a standard blog, it's been processed, post ID. And then once you paste the markdown into Notion, this is where it gets really cool. is it's just a bit more visual. So each day I've got this technical SEO here, schema markup, linking strategy, content enhancement, visual needs, interactive elements, AI ROI calculator, ethical AI checklist generator, all these images, where to place them, the sizes, formatting guide, technical specs, QA SEO review, content analysis, accuracy check, UX evaluation. So you basically got a full SEO team. And my tactic with this is not necessarily to go through and do all this, but I'll do as much of the technical SEO as I can. I'll start using some of the content enhancements. But what you've got now is if you've got a blog post that starts doing well, that starts ranking well in Google, you've now got this ability to start reviewing each post and going like, okay, what do I need to do to improve it? You've got some really good suggestions that you can just keep tweaking your posts, going through this list, getting it all done and dusted, and just really juicing your posts. Or if you've got time, so like for me, I'm only posting one blog post on my personal blog a week, so I could really go, right, okay, then I'll get it drafted, I'll get it published, and I'll spend the rest of the week going through these steps, really juicing that blog post in the first week to give it the best chance of performing. So that's how I sort of create a, let's go back to N8N. So that's how I create a blog post, and they're all very similar. For each project I've got, the daisy chaining all these agents together using Claude AI, using DeepSeek R1, and it's just fantastic at sort of what it's producing. And it's also tied into sort of my content hub to manage everything that I'm producing to keep on top of my workload. So that's how amazing it can be. I've also got a link to this video, which is my AI virtual assistant, that once I've created stuff in OneDrive, the AI agent will get all the information together, send me an email and create a Notion to-do list for me, so I know what to focus on every morning.